So,
Sir, name it, sir.
Scott.
Scott.
Hello, Sanjay.
Yes.
Yeah, Sanjay. Just we'll wait for 5 more minutes for other people to join.
Okay. Nice. I will wait.
So at what time is your office, Mr. Sanjay?
Okay, so I can come back from office around 1:30 a.m. around in the midnight.
Uh-huh. So
Yes.
at what time generally you go to office?
And office time is 3 p.m. in the afternoon.
Oh, okay.
So Kavita, do you have any problem in installation, or
I
you are
didn't get
still?
anything actually. I called them, but I couldn't get connected, so I'm still waiting on that. So probably by this
Okay,
weekend I'll install it.
okay, no issues. So two things is required. The first one is SQL Server with the
Okay.
Enterprise Edition. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
the Enterprise Edition is
Hi Priya,
required.
thank you
I
for
think.
joining. Your trainer name is Sanjay. Okay, he is there on the line. So we are
Okay.
waiting for one more person, Ravi. He is
Mm-hmm.
joining soon, within a minute.
Okay, okay, no issues. Hello, Priya.
Yeah, hi Sanjay.
So I think you are on the second class. So we did some discussion on MSBI. Okay, so
Okay,
basic overview of MSBI. So
okay.
okay, so hold a second. The fourth person is also here. Hi, hello, Ravi. I think he is joining. Hello, Ravi. Okay, so leave him. So for Priya, I think it is the first class.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So do you have any prior knowledge on MSBI, or it's a fresh start?
Oh no, Sanjay, I do have idea about MSBI.
Okay. So you knows about the MSBI part.
Yes, yes.
Okay. So you will be interested in all three parts, or in some of it?
No, all three parts, Sanjay, because I have like idea on SSRS and SSIS, but I don't have any knowledge on SSAS, so I just want to learn from the beginning. So, if you like, okay, you can start from the beginning.
Yes, yes, exactly. We are doing from the scratch itself.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So
Will you teach I'm sorry, will you teach SQL, basics of SQL or just starting up with modules of MSBI?
no, we are not going with the sequels. But yes, if there is a requirement in between, then we will go back to the sequel. Okay. So we
Uh,
first
like,
will. Okay, come on.
okay. Like what when I was like going through a few sessions of this in online, I came to know that like there is like lot of SQL part is also involved, like joins and stored procedures like that. So I was like asking you if you could teach SQL like stored procedures or ad hoc reporting or something like that.
Uh, so the requirement will be like if there is anything which is related, okay,
Mm-hmm.
while we are learning this MSBI part, so we will learn that, okay.
Sure,
So
sure, sure.
do not worry about the SQL part. We
Mhm.
will we will learn that how we'll design the SQL for our required SSIS part. So most of the time, T-SQL is required, okay.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
do not worry about them. We will learn the SQL side by side using the MSBI part.
Okay, sure, sure. That's
Okay.
great. Yeah, yeah.
So first we are starting with the SSIS. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So I'm just going through the last slides which we already discussed. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so mm, the next point will be the why we need business intelligence, and it's obvious like in our organization. data generates on variable sources, like the HR will generate some data, the salesman will generate some data, and the all data will be in different form. Okay, so why there is need of this business intelligence? Okay, so the extracting the information what we did already, which means what the organization has done already, and with and on that data we can extract some information, like for a CEO or for the manager of a company, he must be interested in what was the performance earlier and how should we proceed in future. So in decision making, this business intelligence comes, like if you are doing well in this field, then we should go on that. Okay, so to extract information from the data which already we already have executed in an organization. So to extract information, obviously we need to compile, we need to aggregate the data in one common platform, and to extract the data we need SSIS, which means extracting the data from different sources. So SSIS will be like um, extracting data from different sources and putting it together in one place, and then we will analyze on that data. We will do the analysis, and for that part, because the data will be in very large, in very huge number of rows, so you can think of the millions or billions number of records. So to do the analysis on that data, we cannot do in Excel. So for that we need analysis services. So the second part of the MSBI comes into an action to analyze the big data, not the big data or huge data. Okay, so for that we need SSAS, and let's come back to the architecture. So it's the basic architecture, that how the different parts of the MSBI comes. Okay, so from the sources we have different sources, and to extract from data from them we need SSIS, and to put them in one common place we are called, and that common place is called as data warehouse. From the name itself it is saying that it's a warehouse, which means it will extract data from different sources which we have, and uh, after that it will convert the data and put the data in destination in a single format, which we decide in our data warehouse. And that data warehouse is nothing but it's a space, or it's a database or table in a SQL server. Okay, so Priya, is it clear up to now that why we need SSIS?
Yeah, Sanjay.
Okay, so the after that we need SSAS to do analysis on the data, and and the next step will be after doing analysis, which means generating the business perspective with. Okay, so after doing analysis in analysis services, and what we do in analysis services is, like from the data warehouse we create data marts. Data marts is the small version of the data warehouse, which means a data warehouse will contain the very big data, which means it will contain data for the HR, from the HR, from the sales, from the research and all. Okay, so it's a one-stop solution for a organization. So one more thing, in this class we are not going to create this data warehouse, but we will do work on the different parts of the MSBI, which means how we will use the SSIS to extract data. And while extracting data we can transform the data, which means it's not like importing or doing the transformation of the data, but it's also about the transformation of the data on the go, which means when we are tran transporting the data on that same time we can transform the data. So that's why we call this SSIS as a ETL tool. Okay, extract, transform and load. Okay, and the second part is SSAS, which means doing analysis, creating a data marts. Data marts is nothing like a small view, which means suppose we need analysis on HR data. So for that we will create an analysis cube specifically for that, for that HR data, okay. And if you want analysis on sales, then we will extract data from that warehouse, and we'll create a cube. The term comes only when we do work in SSAS. So we call it as a cube, and we analyze the data in SSAS, and after that we generate reports using SSRS. Okay, so in last SSRS comes. Okay, and so we will not do some like complex task, but we will divide all of the task into small parts, and obviously most of the session will be on demos, which means we can say that 70% of the time will go on the demos, and side by side we will learn what is the theory, what are the different concepts. Okay, so up to now, is it clear?
Yeah, Sanjay, it's clear.
Okay, so Kavi, I think we have discussed it already.
Yes.
So coming next, which means we have discussed something about data warehouse. So we have something two modes for the data warehouse, which means when we design data warehouse, we will have two schema. Okay, so we try to bring all data in the fact table and in the different dimensions. Okay, so there will be one fact table, which means the fact table generally contains the numerical part of it. So, and the dimensions are like dim date, which means it will have date date values, and other columns like date, month, year, quarter, and all. And suppose we will have a HR, so we can have dimensions for dim HR, and in the different way we can have dim customer, dim stores, and all, which means it are the dimensions. In the same way, we will have next architecture for the data warehouse, and that we call a snowflake. And in this diagram, you can see how the tables are interconnected with each other. Okay, so there is nothing big concept on this. So which means it's a simple collection of tables, and how they are connected. Then we decide the architecture of that data warehouse. So basically, we'll have a star as well as snowflake also. So the purpose of data warehouse is to data analysis and for the reporting purpose only. And to feed data warehouse, we need SSIS, and to data analysis on that data, we need SSCS, and for reporting, we use SSRS. So the phase one, which means the first part will be the SSIS, and it has in this PPT it's saying that it's ETL and all. So we already discussed like why we need SSIS, which means regardless of the destination and source, those data formats, we can transform the data from different variable sources, and we can put them into one common platform, one common destination. Okay, and during transportation of data, we can transform the data also, which means we can derive some columns, we can transform the data type of the source, we can do some work in between while we are importing the data. And next is the analysis, as we discussed, like it will be in the cubes. So we need this because to do analysis on very large amount of data, if suppose you have billions of record when you will be working in real time, for that to do analysis on that data, you need to have this analysis services so that the reporting will work efficiently. And what I am trying to say in analysis is like, suppose my manager or some business user wants to have a look on the sales year wise. So in an organization for last 10 years, we will have sales, and for that there might be a row count maybe greater than billions of rows. So to do analysis on that data, we cannot do it manually, like we'll go and write is equal some the sales. it will take more than expected time. So for that, to do analysis very quickly, there's MSBI, which means Microsoft people have designed a tool, and we call it as a analysis services. And in the last, we have to we have to represent that analysis. We have to design some UI part. So to represent the data which we have analyzed in SSAS, we need to have some reporting tool. So from the Microsoft side, we have a standard and very robust tool. We call it as a SSRS, and the whole three things comes as a database management, which means these all parts are of a SQL server. And same for the last phase will be on SSRS. And for the last, from the first class, where we have did some demos on SSIS, like creating a basic package, and we did something simple task of extracting data from SQL to Excel and from sheet to SQL. So do you want to repeat me that, or is it okay to go with?
That's fine, Sanjay. You can continue.
Okay. So
Meanwhile, you can share me the recording of previous class so that I can go through the recording too.
okay, so you can ask the training people, Zoom people.
Oh, sure. Okay.
They will provide you the recordings. So today we'll have some task, and in that we will be doing some. Okay, so we have this task to complete in today's session. Okay. Give me a second, I will be starting with. Okay, so in last class we have design. So this was the file which we created in last class. Okay, so there we designed some packages. So everything which we'll be doing in SSIS will be in the package, and that package we can find it here in the right part. We call it as a solution explorer. So yesterday what we did is simply created a data flow task, and in that data flow task we extracted data from source to destination, and that source was equal to the Excel destination. Okay. We do two tasks. One from the flat file to OLED destination, and the second one is from OLED, which means we used OLED connector to connect to our SQL database and extract the data from that SQL to the Excel. It is showing some error. Let's see why it's saying error. Double click on it, because in the backend I have changed the path of that Excel, so that's why it's saying that it is unable to connect to that data source. Okay, so you can see here the Excel, we have two connection managers, so we can edit that. I'm just changing the path. Now we are not getting any error. So what next? We have created the package, which means the SSIS package. So we will have very complex package here, and we will in future classes we will design some very good package, uh, package here, depending on the situation. That situation will be some practical works. Okay, so now coming back to the PPT. that options to execute these packages, which means we have designed the packages in Visual Studio. So we are using Visual Studio as a developing tool. It will not like yes, in Visual Studio we can execute, but in future we will not open this Visual Studio and will not open this Visual Studio for only executing package. Okay, so this Visual Studio is only for the designing of the package. Okay, which means it's a developing tool. And after that, we know that we have developed this package. So when we want to execute this package, there is no need of this Visual Studio to open this package. So there are some different methods through which we can execute. So there is a SSIS pack window application, which means we know we have created this file. Okay, SQL these two packages. So we will find on the file system, which means on our drive where these are stored, or you can simply find through the right click on that. So when we what I'm doing is doing a right click on the package, or we can in properties we can find where is the path of this package. So we can I can navigate to that folder and I can find the package there. So I'm going it to the manual. So it is saying that it is in documents and in Visual Studio. Okay, so we have to be in Visual Studio 30. Next prompt is figure sample. Sample package. So here we have two DTSX file. So these are the actual package which we designed in that Visual Studio project. Okay. So to execute this packet, it is not required to open the Visual Studio. We can simply open this file. When we double click on it, executor will open. Okay, so execute package utility. So what I was trying to say here is in task one, which means what are the different options to execute these packages. So we have first option is using utility window application, and for that there is nothing special about it. Just find the source package on the disk drive and double click on it and then execute. It is saying some error. Okay, so again we are getting some error like I have changed the source file. Okay, so I have MSBI sample data, and now that file is folder. I have moved that file to this folder. Okay, for that I'm just closing it and I'm going back to the Visual Studio, and the package was this, and I will reconnect edit the connection manager. After doing everything, you will simply save the file. Okay, now coming back to the folder, double click on the package name, then the utility window will open. So now it's not showing error, it is executing the package. So execution of this thing has been completed. Okay, so in this way we can execute the package, which means if you have something, if you want to run it manually or for depending on the requirement, so there is no need to go to the Visual Studio and open the all development environment. You can simply find the project name, and in that project name you can find the actual packages, SSIS package. And the next point, which means if you want to execute these packages on regular basis, okay, so you want to run it on daily basis, and so you can do that using the utility window, which means double clicking on that file and doing it on a regular period. So in this way we can do, but we have a server agent which we can decide, like we want to run this package on the regular basis. Okay, so we have a SQL server, and in that we have a server agent which does the scheduled work, which means the tasks which we want to execute on the regular basis, we can schedule those jobs here. Okay, so in this SQL Server agent, we can create jobs where we can define what we want to do on a regular basis. And the second method of executing the SSIS package is through a SQL Server agent. So I'm just going to the SQL Server agent, and there I will try to create a new job, and that job we can schedule as per our requirements. Okay, I'm just right click on the SQL Server, navigate to SQL Server and right click on the jobs, and there you will find a new option, new job. Okay, so a window will open here. Here we can name this job, like we can test underscore SSIS. Okay, we can give some description as we have given the name. And next comes the steps, which means in this job what are the different steps. Okay, so we can from the general we can move to the steps, and there we can create a step. So when we click on new, okay, so here you will provide the SSIS path. Okay, so for that we need to change the type, that what kind of work we want to do. So we need to have integration services package. Here in the drop down list you will find SQL Server Integration Services package. Okay, so a new window will be reorganized according to the type which we are selecting. Run as SQL Server agent, because we are on the SQL Server agent, and then the package source. So it is saying that what is the source of your package. Here we have different options, but we have file system because we have the source of that package on my file drive. So I can guide, or I can give the package source to this file using that package. Here is a browser for the package, which means we can provide the path for that package. So we know that package resides in our Visual Studio 13, and in that we have projects, and we have a project name sample package, and in that we have this. So we can select this. Okay, so we have created a step. We have created a new job, and in that new job we have created a first step. We are adding a new step. So when we click OK, a new step will be added. Okay, it's saying name cannot be blank. So in the new job, we created a job in our SQL Server agent, and in that we named it some, in general tab we named something, and in steps we have decided we need a step to execute that SQL package which we designed using Visual Studio. And now we can move to the next window, and there we can decide on which time period you want to schedule. Okay, so here you can provide a schedule name and the periodicity, as you know, schedule tab reoccurring, and the frequency daily, it occurs on every day, and at what time it will start, and the duration. So I'm just leaving it as a default values, and yes, we have decided it should run on daily basis. Click OK. We can have alerts also. So these are the next level of notification. So we can decide what if something goes wrong. So it can generate alerts, or it can give notifications also. So for now, to be on simple side, I have just created a job, and in that job we have created a simple task, and after that we have created a scheduling time period. So as you can see in description, it is saying something like occurs every day at 12 a.m. Okay, and we click OK. The new job will be created in our SQL Server agent. Okay, so when you see, here is our job name. Okay, so now it will automatically run on daily basis. So what we have created here, which means we have created a package, SSIS package with a package name itself. So in that we have decided different steps, and for the and the package which we are using now, it's a simple data flow task. Simply moving the file from the flat file, moving data from flat file to the SQL Server. And now we have found out like how to execute this SQL package. There are two methods. First one is going through the source and simply double click, the utility window will open, and there from there we can execute the package. And the second option is, if you want to execute that package on the regular basis, then we have a SQL Server agent on our SQL Server, and there we can create a new job and provide the steps, and after providing steps we can have the scheduling, which means on which period we want to execute. Okay, so now you can, when we double click on it, the package, so again that window will come, and if you want to modify something, you can modify. Okay, so it is scheduled that on this time every day at 12 a.m. it will execute. We can change this time as per our requirement. So if you want to run this package ad hocly, which means if you have any requirement like you want to run it now, so for that you can simply right click on it and click start the job. Okay, so when you click that, it will start the job from the first step to the next step, but we have only one step, so it will say. So we have seen an error. Okay, so now we got an error and we run that job ad hocly. We can have what was the error. So we can go to we can right click on the SSIS, no sorry, on that job, and we can go to the view history. So it will say we ran lastly, and from there we can have why it's got finished. So it is saying the package could not be found. Oh. Let me check. So package is there. I think for that we need to have closed this. So any doubt up to now?
Yeah, I have a question actually.
Okay.
Oh, from the utility window pack, you can go to the location of the that package and you can execute that, right?
Yes.
Generally, why we do that? I mean, I feel like it will be easy if you run in the Visual Studio because errors or something you can sort it out there instead of running somewhere, right? What I mean, why we need that?
So actually we are exploring the different options. Okay. So as you can see, what are the different options to execute that package? So I'm just listing that out. So when it is not like you have already developed, which means Visual Studio is a development tool. For that to execute that package, it doesn't require to go to the Visual Studio because that takes time to load. Okay, as you can see here, it is taking some time to opening the whole environment. So to execute the package, we know that we have already designed what we want. Okay, so after designing, we want to simply execute, we want simply to run that package. For that, it is not required to go to that window again. So what the options available is, you can simply execute that package by you double clicking on it. Then the utility window will open. So yes, obviously you can execute the whatever you have designed in Visual Studio. Yes, you can do that in this, but it's recommended, like if you simply want to execute, not to go to this Visual Studio again and again. But yes, if you are still in the draft, which means still you are on designing phase, then you can go to this. So after designing, which means you have successfully designed the package and you want to run, so there are two options, like you can go to the, you can schedule it to the SQL Server agent, and the second one is if you want to run on some random values, which means you want to run ad hocly, you can simply double click on that package and run that package.
Okay, and one more question I have is when scheduling that package, I mean scheduling that job, you have
Mhm.
specified like package source as what was that, file system or something, right?
Yes.
So depending like what is the source, we have to set that.
Yes, exactly, exactly. So at present, which means the situation which we are in now, we have the package in our file system. That's why we selected there. And there are some more options also. So when we will come back to that later when we select this SQL Server. So when we select on this, then it will ask for the server on which your package has been deployed. Okay.
So what
So
if we have Excel? So we still will select that only file system.
sorry.
What is my package source is like Excel. I'm loading, taking the data from Excel and I'm loading it somewhere. So my source system is Excel. So what option you will select?
No, 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 do not confuse about it. So it doesn't depends on the source which we are selecting in SSIS package. So it's not like will be in Excel. We have designed everything on our Visual Studio. It does, and this will not ask for what you have did in the package. It will not ask, but it will ask like your package is stored somewhere. Okay, so different option, which means at present we haven't deployed it anywhere. So the package we have developed that data flow, and that file is residing on this file system, which means in our disk drive. Okay, so that's why we are selecting a file system here, and there is nothing to do with the source, which means whatever we are doing in the package, it doesn't it is not depend on that. Okay, so this thing is not related to what we are doing inside package. So whatever you are doing, like if it is from the SQL to text file, or from the Excel to text file, or from anything which you are doing, there is nothing to do with that. Okay, so here we are just defining the package source, which means where your file is residing, which means the DTSX file which we have created in the Visual Studio. Is it clear?
Okay. Yeah, but so every time I can give file system, right? Because whenever I create the package, it will go and store somewhere. So every time can I
Yes,
use?
exactly. For now, but there are some
Okay.
more options. Like when we deploy that whole package on our server, then we will select this SQL Server. As you can see in my screen, like when you open the SQL Server environment, there will be a folder here. See Integration Services Catalog. Okay, so we will come back. Okay, on this point. So that thing we call a deploying a package.
Okay.
But for now, as we are on,
Sanjay,
yes, yes.
one question here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if you want to schedule this job, if we want to schedule this job from can we pick that package from the different server also?
Yes,
If it is in the net,
yes. If it is in the
we can
network,
do that.
that yes, we can do. But that for that, suppose we have a SQL server on some machine, some other machine. Okay, so the we can schedule only on that server only. Okay, so it's not
Mm-hmm.
like we can call the package which is deployed on some other server. Okay, but yes, partially yes, it's better to go with the same server, but you can provide the path to the other server also. You can simply provide the server name and the login details. It will open the package from that server also, but it's better to go with the package on the same server. Okay,
Okay.
so it will
Oh,
open, no issues. You can provide the server name and the login details, and from there you can browse the folders, which means what are the different packages has been deployed on that server. Okay, and you can call that package from there.
mm,
Okay, so for now let's make it simple. There are so many windows here. Okay, so we will come back to this because there are so many options available here. You can configure that as per our requirement. Okay, but to be on simple side, which means for the first time use, I'm just going with the file system, which means we can simply provide the folder path. Okay, now let's execute for one more time. And it is saying some error. for that, to see the history, and then we have to go back to the history window, and we have to see what was the error in the last step. Oh, so we are having a list of error. So we will come later that how to debug if we are having errors. But it should run because we haven't I'm just changing the file. Okay, so we will come later that why we are getting these errors. Okay, so for now, is it clear like how to schedule the jobs?
Yes.
Okay, so basically we want like what if we have already created the package, and what are the different options to execute that package. So this Visual Studio is only the developing environment, and after development we will execute the package with different options which we have. Okay, and now we'll come back to the SSIS package designing again. That was now we'll design a new package, and we'll see how the things is going on, and we will learn some more tools here. Sorry, I'm just creating a new package here. Renaming it something derived column. Okay, so control flow, again we will decide in control flow. What we do is like it's a controlling, which means we will decide like in our SSIS package what will be the different steps. Okay, so at present I am taking a simple step of data flow task. So when we double click on it, we will navigate to the data flow window, and there we will select source and what we want to how we want to transform the data. Okay, so for now I'm selecting validity destination. I will pick some table from SQL Server and will try to do some transformation. Earlier we were simply selecting uh, import the data import the data from one destination and export it to some destination. Sorry, import the data from source and export it to the destination, which means we were only doing the ENL part of the ETL, which means extract the data and then load it. Now we will try to do some transformation in between while we are loading, while we are transporting the data, which means now we will do the full extract the data, transform the data, and then load it to the destination. So now I'm just connecting it to the okay. So as we double click on the source, it will ask for the different parameters, which means on to which server we want to connect. So for that again we have to create a new connection, and in that we have a Northwind database. Why I'm taking this Northwind database is very light database. Okay, it has required columns to learn. Another option is to go with the AdventureWorks database, but I'm not taking that database because that is good to go, but that database is big. But to learn from the basics, it's better to go with the Northwind. It's a very lightweight database. So if you people want, then you can simply Google on the Google it about the north wind. You will have the database. And I'm selecting the order table. Sorry, I am doing some mistake here. I have selected the Excel destination manager and treating it as a source. So sorry for that. I should select this OLEDV source. I'm just deleting this because I don't want some destination at present. I want the source. Okay, we can preview the data if you want. So we have connected to the data source. So this OLEDV source will not, we will only create a connection to the source, and it will provide this data in the blue line. Okay, so we can take the data from this. So what about this red line? So this will comes only into action when we get some error in this. So suppose we are running this package, and due to some reason it is not, we are getting error in the first step also, which means we are unable to read data from the source itself. So in that case it will generate some error, and we can decide like what we want to do on when we get the error. Okay, so we will come back later or on error handling. And present we want to do some, we want to transform the data, which means for the simple common thing we will have a derived column, which means I'm connecting it to the derived column. So when we double click on the derived column, it will give us the different options that how you want to derive a column from the source, or what if you simply want to add. So we know that we have some columns input from this source, and we want to add some column in that. So I'm just naming it as what I want to add that column, and that name should be and it will add as a derived, which means we can have an option if we want to replace some value, which means we have input columns, which means we have these columns from the input source, and if we want to replace the values, then we can select. But for now I'm using it as a add a new column. And now we have to provide the expression, which means in SSIS we use the expression to for simple programming. And for now I'm just want to create a flag with date function, which means I think all of you are familiar with the get date function. Okay, so here we have a window from the function, which means if you are not familiar with the expressions of the SSIS, you can simply design on the run. It's not a tough task. So what I want is when we run the package, so I want a flag column, like what will be the running date time of that column. So we have now derived a new column, and that will return the get date part, which means what is the running time of the package. So I'm just clicking it OK. And ignore this second one. I'm just taking it as a last step. I'm not doing anything with this. I want it to enable this data viewer. So we can visualize the data in the studio itself. I haven't selected any destination yet. I have only selected the source, and I have added a date column. I can rename it and when we right click on the line, then we can enable data viewer. So when we run the package, we can have a data view, which means how the data is flowing through this line. And this is what just to do in, there is nothing to do with the last step, so you can ignore this. So I'm just executing the package. Now let's see what happens. So ideally the all column from the source plus a new column should be there. Now why we are getting this window? Because we have enabled the data view in the last line. We are getting this window from this data view because we have enabled data view from this flow line. Okay, so we have added something, a new column in derived step, and here we have that column, and we name that column as a test underscore new column, and in that we are getting the timestamp, which means the how we are getting the timestamp is from the get date function. Okay, so for all rows we are getting a timestamp. So it's a basic simple uh, adding a column, which means deriving a new column. So how to use this tool, deriving a column? Here we can add some more logical functions also. So up to now, is it clear like how to go with the derived column? A very simple task with derived column. Is it clear to you all?
Yes.
Okay, so now I will try to do something new with this. I want a new column of here. New underscore, I'm just naming it. Add as a new column in the source. And now I can provide, like we have these columns from the source, like we have order ID, this. So I want to do some conditional thing, which means I want to check uh, the freight, which means if freight is greater or less than something. Operators. So in freight column we are having the dollar value. So I'm just checking or just flagging a I just want to check like if this is greater than that, what you want. I just want to have that if statement. Let's take it for something else. For that greater than we have to do something. I just want to divide the freight with 2. Let's check the function for divide is simply by slashing it. Okay. Okay. Now run the package. But that column is not coming here. So the name was what was the column name? To stop the package, you have the stop button here. Value test. Okay, so for now, I'm getting somewhere. For in next class, we will do some complex situation, like not with the get date. We can have some conditional test, like if the freight is greater than some value, then what you want. Like you want to do a flag column, like this flag, this order has greater has freight greater than 50, or this order has greater less than 50. So in the same in that situation, we can have a flagging like 10. Okay, so I think this doing a simple task with derived column is clear to all.
Yes.
Okay, and the next task which we have in our list is working with variables. Okay, so we can have variables in SSIS. Sorry, I'm closing this. Going back to it. Okay, so how to create a variable in SSIS package? For that, when you go to the window, I'm just finding the variable window. Okay, so to get the variable window, as you can see, you can get that window from the view and then navigate to the other windows, and there you will find a variable. I'm looking at inside. Okay, so here we can create a new variable, and I will let you know why I'm creating this variable. I'm naming this variable as a row count, and its data type will be, okay, it's saying that in the variable name we will not have space. Okay, so its variable name is this, and its data type will be int32, and its initial value will be 0. Okay, and now I'm going to go here. So suppose there is a condition, like we want to know like how many rows has been processed in this data flow task. Okay, suppose at present situation we know that it's around 8:30, but in futures when we rerun this package there might be some more rows or there may be some less row also, but we want to log it, or we want to know that how many rows has been processed through this data flow task. For that we have a tool, we call it as a row count. So what we can do is, like in these two steps, we want like from the source to this adding new column, how many rows has been processed in this. So we will insert this row count in between these two tasks. I'm deleting that line. And double click on it. It will simply ask, like when we the work of this row count is to simply count the number of rows which are passing through these flow tasks, which means which are how the rows are passing through this, and it will count the number of rows through this path, and it will return the row count to some variable. That's why I have created a new variable, and the work of this row count is to count the rows which are passing through the path and store it to some variable name. So when you down click on it, and we have created the variable with row underscore count. Select it, and use it. Okay, so we can use this variable in somewhere, or we can store this variable. Okay, so I'm just running this package and let's see what happens. So we are on the same window, like we are having the data view here with the same thing, but how do we know that we got some values from this row count? To know on that, we need to have a watch window, or we need to have breakpoints, which means we are on the debugging side. Either we can use it. So I'm just opening the window. That's that. So we've done on the derived column and now working with variables. And in variables we have created the row count. And now last comes the breakpoint. So to read the value, which means we know this row count is working fine, but we are not having like how this row count is working. So its work is to simply count the rows, number of rows which is passing from these two tasks, and that count will be returned to the variable which we have assigned, and that will be in this. And to view that, we can have breakpoints. Okay, so do you know what is breakpoint? Any of you? Do you have any idea like what is breakpoint? Kavita, Priya, or Ravi? Are you people there?
Yes, but I don't know, like the breakpoint. It is used for debugging. I know only that much, but
Exactly. You are on the right thing. So from the names, it is saying it's a breakpoint. So that breakpoint option is only available in the control flow. Okay, so we cannot have breakpoint here. Okay, so we'll go back to the control flow. Breakpoint, which means we can have a pause when we run the package. When and how I'm getting this, simply right click on the data and click on edit breakpoints, and here we will have list of conditions that on which step you want. So for now I want like pre-execute, post-execute, and when the values of any variable changes. So there are different options you can select depending on your condition. So we have the breakpoint. Now we will execute it. So it is saying that we have enabled that to apply breakpoint on mm, pre-execution, which means when we come to the data flow, nothing is going here. So we are on the pre-execution phase. So there is a tool to watch the variable, and I'm finding Windows. Hold a second, I just want some window and I'm just finding it. And that we call a watch window. Yes, in the debug we have the watch window. In watch window we can have number n watch, and now we can see how the variables is. So now the using of this breakpoint is to check how the row count is working, how the row count is assigning the values to the variable, and then the name of that variable was. So now we have created a watch, and like how the values will change in this variable. I'm executing this, which means we have paused our project or our this on pre-stage. So which means before running this package, the variable of the value of this variable was 0. Now let's see if it's changed, because in the data flow we have decided like this row count will return the numbers of total count, row count from these two data tasks to this uh, variable. Let's see what happens. Count this. Detach or close it. Okay, so now you can have a look here. This variable is changing, which means our row count is working. So whatever the row which we are processing between these two tasks, because we have inserted the row count in between. So row count has worked, which means it has counted the number of rows and returned that value to this variable. And we can have look on that by using the breakpoints. So now we got how to use the breakpoint and how to create variables and how to count the number of rows and then assigning that number of rows to some variable. And as you can see here that this row count is changing the values of that variable. Is it clear to you all?
Yes, but did you give an expression for that row count variable?
No, I have not given any expression for that. I have simply created a variable, that a name of that variable is row count, and I have decided the data type with integer 42 and the data type, and its initial or a sample value will be 0, and it will change, which means, and to change the value of that variable we have used this row count, which means whatever we get from this row count will be assigned to this variable. Okay.
But where did you say that it should count the number of rows? You didn't specify anywhere, right? So why
Okay,
it
so
is doing that?
the task which we selected, like the tool itself, which means the work of this tool is to count the rows. Okay, so we haven't like I'm just stopping this process. I will re-explain it. When you select on it, you will have a window here, like what is the work of this. So row count as they pass through the data flow, for example, is the number of rows. So it is saying like we can have the only work of this is to count the rows, and to count the rows you do not need to provide a column name or anything else.
Okay, so
So
you have taken there like it is like row count, which is the type of the variable. So that's what you are saying. That's
yes,
what you're supposed to do. Okay, okay.
so row count is nothing like it simply count star. When we talk in SQL terms, we are select a count star from some table. So it is what doing is counting the total number of rows, okay, which are passing through these two tasks in between.
And one
And
more question I have is, okay,
mhm.
continue. You're saying
So
something?
okay, so I was saying like how to you create variable and how to change the variable, which means value of variable, how to use that variable. And for that we have created a simple task like row count, and the use of row count is it will simply return a value, and we can assign that value to some variable. Okay, and we can use the further we can use that row count. So suppose we can have a email task, like we want to know, like in last run, when we have scheduled that package, we want to know like what was the number of rows which we have processed in last step. Okay, so we can have this. So we can have a an email task, like we can create an email task, and there we can use the row count variable and mail this number to some of the DBA users.
Okay, so what if we execute this package using what was that utility, something like if we go to the package location and if we execute there, can we check the, what is the variable value and everything over there?
No, because we cannot check there, because we are in the debugging phase. We are viewing that in using the breakpoint. Okay, so we have assigned value for the variable, but we are not using it. Okay, so we can have a new task, or we can add some tools here that we can simply write that number to a simple table. Okay, so for that, we will have a next in our next session, like how to use that variable. At present we are assigning the values to the variable, we are not using the variable. Okay,
Okay.
but in future we will have why we why we have created that variable and how we can use that variable. Okay, but for now my aim was to how to use the breakpoint. Okay, and how to create a variable and how to derive a column and how to execute a package.
You're going
So
to explain more about breakpoints in the future also?
yes, obviously, because we will do demos only, and in that sorry, we'll have to debug the code, and in debugging we will be using this breakpoint again and again. Not It's the first point. It's a simple case where we can use the breakpoint. Okay.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So this was for the today's class. If there is any doubt, you can ask me now. Priya, do you have
No, Sanjay,
any?
I'm good. I'm good.
Okay, okay. So, and Ravi also.
Sanjay, one thing I was confused about is like you said SSI execution in a Windows application, right? When
Hmm.
I was like, I had a package in my one of my folder where I saved like SSI package. When I'm trying to open, like double click it, it's directly taking me to a Visual Studio. Is that like, is there any issue that I have saving format is different that I did, or due
No,
to something?
the saving format is always be same, because you cannot decide the DTSX file. It's the format. We are not creating it. It's a default format for the package. So you can, why you are getting that, I think that is to do with the open with, because by default your system is guided to open it in Visual Studio. You can have here, like when you right click or open with, then you should have this execute package utility using this tool.
Okay.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So no worries, do not worry about it. It's one of the method to execute the task. As the Kavita is also saying that we can execute the package in Visual Studio also. But the difference is only like to open the Visual Studio, it will take time to load the whole environment. Okay. So if you are comfortable to execute the package inside the Visual Studio, go ahead with it, no problem with this. And but it is recommended, like if you only want to execute the package, then it's on you simply double click on it and you can run that package using the utility. But the most of the time our destination will be on like scheduling the package. Okay, so the destination or the end destination is we like how to schedule the package, which means, and we did some demo, like we have created a job in our SQL Server agent, and there we guided how from where it will take the package. Okay, so now do not worry about the utility package. So if you are not getting that utility package, so there is something to do with your system, like your system is already selected a default thing to open this DTSX file in Visual Studio.
Okay, I'll check. Like I tried to open it, like, but I didn't get it. Maybe I'll check it. Yeah.
Okay, so no issue, check it, because when I have nothing done in my system, I have simply installed the whole environment, like business intelligence and SQL Server, and when we double click on it, it simply opens it in your utility package. There is a, okay.
Yeah. Okay.
So for today's thing, I have to make you introduction. Like in future, we will again work on this point. We'll again work on this variable, and again we'll work on the derivative column. So my today's aim was to make you clear, like how we can schedule the package, how we can execute the package, and yes, in ETL it's not like in extracting and loading the data. The main task of ETL is this SSIS is to transform the data, and for that we are working on, like deriving a column, working with variables, and debugging. For debugging we are using breakpoints, and then we will use the variable in future demos. We will use the variables. Okay, so we have different tasks. We will see, like for different tools which we are having in the right side, left side, like lookup, merge, multicast. So one by one we will learn on this.
Okay.
So is it clear to all? Any doubt in today's session?
I'm good.
Okay, so as we know, will next class will be on Monday. Today is Friday for me, but we'll have class tomorrow.
Tomorrow we have class, or it's on Monday?
So tomorrow, I think for you people, tomorrow will be a Friday.
Yes.
Okay, so we will have the class. Okay,
Okay.
so we are good to go with. Okay, so we will be meeting tomorrow. Okay, bye bye all.
So it will be on the same time?
Yes, at the same time, 6:30. It will be good if you people will be on time.
Yeah, yeah. I didn't know that it was like, yesterday it was late, right? So I was counting on that, but yeah.
Okay, so we'll be meeting tomorrow. Okay,
Okay.
and bye bye all.
Bye bye.